leaving the courthouse. Okay, so keep us up to date. All right, then our first matter will be cause 241531. This is Odin Hughes Partners versus Chantel Quick and others on behalf of Odin Hughes.
Sarah Burns, present, Your Honor.
And good morning, Ms. Burns.
Good morning.
And I'm present too.
Who is that?
Chantel.
Oh, Ms. Quick, you're here on your own behalf. Okay. Thank you
Yes.
both for being here then. All right. Ms. Burns, why is this eviction being sought?
Non-payment of rent.
All right. And how much is the monthly rent?
It is $1,799.
Is any portion of that subsidized by the government?
It is not.
What are the months of back rent that are alleged?
November and now December.
All right. Was this property under the CARES Act?
It is not.
When was notice to vacate and how was it delivered?
It was posted on the inside of the main entry door on November 5th.
All right. Good morning, Ms. Quick. Thank you for being here.
Hi.
Ms. Burns works for a company called Nationwide, and they represent landlords, so you may have never heard of her or her firm, but she is here kind of as a third party, and that's very, very common.
Okay.
And what Ms. Burns has said is that the information she received from Odin Hughes is that the case is one about non-payment. So they're not alleging other lease violations or any bad actions. It's a financial situation.
Yes.
And one thing she told me is that the basic monthly rent is $1,799. So Ms. Quick, is that correct? Is that the monthly rent?
Yes.
Okay. And she said then that rent was not paid in full for November and that it hasn't been paid for December. Ms. Quick, is that also correct?
Yes.
All right. Well, with that information, the landlord has shown their burden to meet for an eviction and non-payment situation, but this is your opportunity. If you want to share information or ask any questions, I always want to try to give you
Sure.
final, here's the number, here's how long you have, what is the appeal, and all of those things. So what information can we give you?
Yeah. So I last week spoke to Brian. He works in the office of my complex. And he told me, hey, look, we don't want to have to go through the eviction process. So if you can give us partial payment by someday, he's like, I'll let you know. Then he's like, you don't have to show up on the call. We'll just show up and we'll tell them that we figured out a payment plan for you. And then that'll be it. We don't have to follow through with it. And I said, okay, great. He said, I'll get back to you on Friday. Never heard from him. I've called him. I've emailed him. Basically, you can't pay partial payment online, which is how we pay. So I have to pay money order, but I've been trying to get a hold of him to be like, how much do you want me to pay partial payment for the money order? And I have not been able to reach him.
Okay.
So that's where we're at now. I'm just kind of waiting to hear from someone to get a partial payment in. Yeah.
All right, Ms. Quick, I'm going to give you some information, and then I'm going to highlight again all those legal resources because I cannot give you advice, but I can definitely inform you where the law would lie in the situation you've given me, okay? And then with that, you definitely got a couple of days. You've got at least 5 days to appeal or make some decisions or reach out and work further with Odin Hughes and see if something else can be developed, okay?
Okay.
Well, here's the line of the law. Rent has not been paid, and since it wasn't paid on time in November, even if today you had all of the money for November and December, legally, the landlord is entitled to still receive the eviction because they were not paid on time pursuant to the contract. Now, they don't have to, but legally, they can say, we want our money and we want you to move out.
Oh, I'm sorry. I've left out a big part of a piece of information. My end of lease day is on the 31st of this month. So I'm scheduled to move out at the end of this month anyway, because it's the end of my lease. That's kind of why they were like, hey, because you're moving out anyway, basically.
But Ms. Quick, I'm going to tell you that today you're being evicted. And if you don't appeal or they don't notify me and within 5 days, they want to set it aside, whether you move out or not, this becomes a final eviction on your record.
Right. I got that.
Right. I want to be very clear so that legally, even if you gave them all the money today, the landlord still has the right to seek this to become a final order unless you appealed it or they set it aside.
Okay.
So you have 5 days to appeal. The appeal bond, and let me give you some final numbers. The calculated back rent. So for November, it's $1,799. For the month of December, I do a proration. Today is the 12th. I'm going to add a few days for what I'm thinking is a reasonable amount for the appeal period. Remember, we have at least 5 days. So I'm going to award 18 days of rent, and I calculate that to be $58 per day. So for the month of December, the award is $1,044. With November and December, the total judgment for the plaintiff today, along with possession, is $2,843. The only additional money to that will be the cost of court. Now, Ms. Quick, per your lease, you owe $1,799 for both months. The number I'm giving is less than that. You may very well have a different number from the landlord, and if you wanted to settle with the landlord or do something else, they may want more than what I'm awarding today, because I'm being pretty strict about it and saying only through this, and then I'm going to kick both of you because they do need to mitigate. All right.
Oh,
Also, the other thing that is, the lease can include late fees and utility bills, but a judgment for eviction cannot. So we will not include late fees or any of those other expenses, but the bill from your landlord probably will,
Right.
or that it can. All right.
yes.
If you want to appeal, if either of you wish to appeal, Ms. Burns, for your client, the appeal bond will be 1 month of rent. So it's going to be $1,799, and I base that because we're only behind a month and a half at this point. So it's judgment at $2,843 and cost of court, appeal bond of $1,799. Ms. Quick, if you're interested in appealing, for you and for others, the appeal bond is an amount of money I'm required to establish to secure the case. If you could not afford that, you can still appeal by filing an affidavit of inability. However, if you wish to stay in the apartment while your case is being heard for the new judge, you do have to keep paying rent. And that $1,799 is paid to the court. We will send you today, with a copy of the order, a packet of information that is very detailed about what to do and where to do that if you're interested in appealing. And certainly any of those legal aid resources can answer very specific questions for you. But do you have any questions for me now that I could try to answer for you?
So basically, once I speak to the point of contact that I've been in contact with about this, and he, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, everything you said is pretty confusing to me, but it sounds like I just need to talk to who I've been talking to, and then once he and I come up with agreement, he's kind of the one that's speaking to who's on this call. Sorry, representing
Ms. Burns.
Yes, like he's the one kind of in touch with her, is what I'm guessing, maybe.
Yep.
Or
Ms. Quick, I'll leave you with this.
okay.
The only way this eviction doesn't become final is either your landlord notifies me within 5 days or one of you appeals.
Okay.
Other than that, this will become a final judgment against you for
Got it.
2043. All right.
Okay.
At least 5 days to make a decision or take some action.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
And then, Ms. Burns, I think you know this because you appear before me, but certainly if Ms. Quick and the landlord work it out, the landlord can notify us anytime in the next 5 days. They have plenary power. I'm happy to do a motion to set aside on these. But that is totally at the discretion of the plaintiff. All right. All right. Well, then, Ms. Quick, you're all excused. Ms. Burns, if you have other cases, please stay for those matters. Thank you all for your patience in allowing me to do just one case. Judge Beeler, I appreciate you being a visiting judge for me today. I will excuse myself now and go do a bit of training. But everyone have a good morning and enjoy the holidays. Thank you.